Coming up on this Saturday edition of News 8 Today, find out how Lancaster's getting ready for protests that are planned over the appearance of former Fox host Tucker Carlson. Plus, educators and lawmakers got together at Millersville to talk about solutions to the teacher shortage here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And the Olympic wrestling trials are happening this weekend in State College. We'll have a recap of day one coming up. Good Saturday morning. I'm Jay Scott Smith. Now, we start the 6 o'clock hour in Harrisburg, where Susquehanna Township High School said goodbye to the 2024 class on Friday while honoring a fallen student. This young man, 18-year-old Teron Parent.
Yes, good morning, everybody. We're actually in front of the Broad Street Market here in Harrisburg, and Mayor Wanda Williams has called the council's decision to reject that construction manager reckless.
Good morning, Matt and Regina, and this is a part of a $122 million project that started back on March 15th, and it's going to replace the rail infrastructure that's been around since the 1950s. Nearly 36 hours after the catastrophic collapse, the recovery effort is now underway in the search for the 6 men who were on that bridge early Tuesday morning.
Jay, right now the impact on that is expected to be fairly minimal.
Now, Jackie, it's not just agriculture that's being affected by this. The collapse could also have an impact on the auto industry. So what are you hearing about this?
Yeah, that's right, the portable.
But starting next year, the new cashless mode of getting your tolls paid here on the turnpike is going to make these toll booths over my shoulder a thing of the past.
Very clearly, it is very snowy out here in Dauphin County. We're actually near Swatara Township, and if you can see it, that's 283.
And you may have seen them pop up in your email inbox, those termination of service notifications from your cable or phone company. Well, they're fake. We pick things up in the second period. Bears on the power play when Garrett Rowe rips this shot from the point, beating Jet Greaves, and the Bears take a 1-0 lead. But just like Thursday night, Cleveland's David Jiricek sent the game to overtime by scoring with just 90 seconds left in the third period. And just like Thursday night, it was the Bears who won it in the extra period. Pierrick Dubé beats Greaves with this wrist shot at the 11-minute mark of overtime. And the Bears take game 2 by the score of 3-2. They lead the best-of-7 series 2-0. From the Kick House in Hummelstown, I'm Jay Scott Smith. Kicking it this morning here in Hummelstown. Back to you in the studio.
Eid al-Fitr is the official end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. And today in Harrisburg, a celebration was held that was full of love, camaraderie, and community service.
So today is our festival for breaking our fast. After the holy month of Ramadan, we come together to pray and to unite and just remind each other what amazing month we just had together.
Eid officially began at the first sighting of the crescent moon last night and runs between 1 and 3 days. It marks the official end of Ramadan, where Muslims around the world fast from sunrise to sunset every day for 30 days. During Eid, Muslims often have a special prayer followed by sharing food and gifts with friends and family, as well as performing acts of charity and public service.
Islam is one of the religions that is really focused in community and unity and helping others. This is a time where charity work and volunteering, stuff like that, is very encouraged.
Eid is also being celebrated this year under the specter of the war in Gaza that has seen thousands of Muslim Palestinians killed. During this celebration, toys are being collected for Palestinian children.
Not just in Palestine, not just in Gaza, but also the oppressed people all around the world, wherever they are. If they're Muslim or non-Muslim, it doesn't really matter. But for those that actually observe Eid, and they're going through oppression and hard times right now, we also feel for them.
On this day, Muslims greet each other by saying Eid Mubarak, which also means blessed Eid. And those prayers on a day like today are just as much for the end of the fighting as they are for celebrating the end of a month of sacrifice.
It's been more than 48 hours since a massive fire took down this factory here in Stewartstown. And it's left fire officials scrambling to describe what they've seen. You can see the smoke still rising up from the building more than 2 days after the monstrous fire lit up the skies here in Stewartstown. The first calls on this fire came in around 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. This viewer video showing just how impressive the blaze was, reaching 6 alarms at one point. Now, the battle to get it under control was so intense that water was even being pulled from an area pond, and it took crews around 3 hours just to get the initial fire under control. Now, Todd Gibney, the Eureka Volunteer Fire Chief, said on the department's Facebook page he expects this fire to continue to smoke and smolder for the next week, telling residents not to call 911 as they understand the smoke is going to be there because, quote, it's not a realistic expectation to fully extinguish a fire of this magnitude, and the fire is contained to areas that are bricked off, therefore it will not spread. Now, the scale of this fire stunned nearby residents who said they've never seen anything like this.
The intensity of it, I just knew something really bad had taken place very nearby.
I'd seen explosions in Vietnam and all, but this was unreal.
Our neighbor called and said, my bedroom is sort of aglow, and she looked outside and said, oh my gosh, there's fire.
Now, fire officials say one other home did sustain damage in this fire, but there have been no injuries or fatalities that have been reported. The Southern Regional Police, along with the State Police Fire Marshal's Office, are also investigating the cause of this fire, and they're asking anyone with cameras to check for any suspicious activity that may have happened around 1:30 a.m. on Saturday. And just to give you an idea of how big this fire was, the fire chief's son, Dan Gibney, who is also a firefighter himself, went on a run on Sunday afternoon. He found embers from this fire right here, 3.5 miles away.
Haley Doherty can talk about it now with an almost dry sense of teenage humor.
And I played as a goalie sophomore year, and then I stopped this year because I have a delayed reaction from when I have my seizures. So being a goalie plus a minimal delayed reaction.
The 16-year-old Elizabethtown High School junior and former field hockey goaltender is now in remission, nearly 2 years after battling leukemia, a diagnosis that she and her mother, Heather, remember vividly.
February 10th, 2020, my family was called to go to the ER. That morning I went and got blood work. My mom was on pool deck when she got the call.
I was coaching swimming when I got the call from the doctor saying, you need to pick her up, bring her to the ER, she will be admitted. I wish we could bring you into the office, but she has cancer, you need to take her now.
Prior to her diagnosis, Haley was your typical active teenager. She was an avid swimmer, field hockey player, and an honor student. But Heather, who's also a swim coach, could sense something was off.
She was slowing down. She used to be one of the leads in her lane for swimming, and she started going further and further back. And she was just getting tired all the time, and her times were getting really slow. So we saw something, and we knew something wasn't quite right. We just didn't know what.
Haley experienced all the signs of leukemia and quickly started chemotherapy. Along with the usual side effects that chemo brings, Haley also began to suffer those aforementioned seizures following her early treatments. In the middle of Haley's cancer battle, which also came as the pandemic started taking hold, Heather got an unexpected email from Make-A-Wish.
When my mom first got the email, because that's how they contact you, is through an email, she went to my oncologist and said, is this a scam?
We took it to the doctor. We're like, do you know anything about this? Because, she had just had her seizure and she had leukemia. We didn't think she was that sick that she would be granted a wish.
The email was indeed legit, and the process of getting Haley her wish got rolling. However, thanks to the pandemic and its travel restrictions, the process took a lot longer, stalling out for more than a year before she and her family finally got their wish in April of 2022. It was a trip to Hawaii.
I got to go ziplining over where Jurassic Park was filmed, and that was the first time I've ever gone ziplining, so that was so much fun.
Following that trip, the Dohertys were contacted again by Make-A-Wish. This time it was for a chance to be a part of the annual Mother's Day convoy in Lancaster.
When her wish was granted, and then that year for Mother's Day, they asked us to be a convoy coach. So she came and she was a convoy coach, which means she started off the convoy.
I liked that no matter what, you would have somebody fun to talk to. I had an amazing truck driver. His name was Mike. I actually rode with him again last year, and I'm going to ride with him this year.
Haley will be front and center at this year's 35th annual Mother's Day Convoy, which raises money to support the wishes the organization grants. And it's also a testament to Haley's perseverance. Haley finished chemo on June 18th, 2022. She's back in school, back in the pool, has a 4.0, and wants to become a psychologist. She also just went to her junior prom. I asked her what message she has for kids who are battling a life-threatening disease like cancer. Her response was typical of her sense of humor as well as her spirit.
It's gonna suck some days, but one more day is always gonna be better. It's always better to be here for another day than not get to see it, because something might happen that is exciting, even if it's just to watch one more episode of that show you really like. The next day can always hold something better.
In Mannheim, I'm J. Scott Smith, WGAL News 8.